I want to hear from both of you, Tiffany, from Tali. I want to hear from both of you kind of your thoughts when you hear the term imposter syndrome.
Where do we even start, Tonya?
You know what? I'm gonna have Tiffany. You please go first. You and I have had this conversation a lot. I know we both have a lot of passion around this, so please kick us off, and I will chime in.
And this is why Tali's amazing. So I have to, throw this disclaimer to everyone that is tuning into this amazing podcast, which is Tali is my manager. And I love that we are doing this together. Many of the topics that we're going to discuss today is something that we talk about in and outside of work all the time, something that we're, not just passionate about, but even just really curious about and sometimes angry about. So it's a really great combination. Well, I'll be really honest, imposter syndrome, I was joking over the holiday season, for me is like Santa Claus. I don't relate to the idea. We keep feeding it, thinking it will eventually benefit us. And the story, the hype around it has grown way more significant than the reality of it. So disgust is a feeling that I feel really, really strongly about when I think about that concept. It's a concept that countless individuals and organizations have profited off of. It is an ugly monster that many, for some reason, continue to give life to, but it is also a brilliant strategy to ensure that, those who have been historically oppressed continue to sustain a narrative that they shouldn't be where they aren't wanted. And I also consider it to be fundamentally culturally incompetent. It distracts us from the real issues at hand, which is really about, psychologically safe spaces that cultivate the ability for people to show up as they are, and whatever that means for them continues to elude women, especially women of color. It also means there continues to be a lack of leadership of people who are willing to bring those who look different than them along with them in a way that doesn't make them feel threatened, inadequate, or believe that providing someone with validation takes away from their power. So that's what I'll start with.
That is
Yeah, well,
a great start.
Yeah, and so Tiffany and I have talked about this a lot, and not surprisingly, I'm going to agree with everything she says. I think one of the things, and this was in the Harvard Business Review, so I am borrowing from an idea that was shared there, but I think the fundamental flaw with imposter syndrome is it's about fixing women instead of fixing the dynamics of where they work, and that's what's so problematic and offensive. And why, to Tiffany's point, it just propagates this continued system that is based on excluding certain populations. And so to Tiffany's point, it is at its height for women of color, for queer women, right? For, trans femme, non-binary, like these systems are designed so this, to exclude, right? To center power when there's a certain group. And so when we tell someone we're an imposter, it's like, oh, Tiffany, you know what, man, you just gotta be a little bit different, and then you will fit into this system, versus saying, hey, this system is flawed. And if we really believe that our organizations are most, impactful, and I always go back to the data, most profitable when they represent the communities they serve, you're not going to do that if you don't bust open those systems and start to really create place for people. And so I also take offense at the idea that it's problematic for me to have insecurity. I have insecurity every single day, and I want it to be okay for me to have insecurity. I'm nervous being here right now. I want that to be okay. That doesn't make me an imposter. It does not make me a fraud. So it is just this entire framing, to Tiffany's point, that is, I think, what did you say? Offensive? What was the word you used?
Disgust was the word I remember.
Yeah, disgust. Yes, it is disgusting. And it's self-propagating. And it is one of the many things I think we'll talk about today, where systems still fundamentally benefit those that they center, even when we talk about, oh no, we're going to be inclusive, oh no, we're going to look at representation. If you will fit into this model, and you're still going to be excluded to a certain extent.
And the systems that center certain people, but were also created by those same people, right? So that it continues. Of course. It continues. And so what I'm hearing from both of you that I think is really important just to hone in on is that it's not an individual woman's responsibility. It's not on the individual, right? It is a fundamental problem with the system, right? Yeah. That needs to be addressed. And when we think about creating inclusive workspaces, that it has to be done from a systemic perspective for it to be genuine and for it to actually make a real impact.